Welcome back to another episode of Andrew Says. My guest, the always wonderful Ryan Long. How are you, buddy?
Yeah, just lost all my money on Luna.
What is
So
that?
I'm gonna really, okay. So Luna is this stock, or sorry, like a cryptocurrency
right.
scam. It's a crypto scam that people lost all their money on, and like over 10 people killed themselves.
Oh my god.
Yeah, that's the death that no one wants to talk about.
That's a dark start to the episode. How have you been?
So if you have any money left, so to me, I think that all the people that committed suicide, it's sort of like a coward's way out, because if you think about it, really, you could probably pawn your stuff, steal from your mom, and buy the dip. I think that, I think Luna is going straight up from here. In my mind.
This is economics 101, I think, about crypto.
So that was a dip that was meant to be bought, and I don't care where you have to get that money. If you have to pawn your mom's jewelry to herald the jewelry buyer.
So yeah, that's right. That's a good reference. And
he, I don't know, I'm just bulldozing over you with my Toronto commentary.
That's fine.
Herald, the jewelry buyer, as of today, is in court right now for he sells mortgages now, right? And he essentially scammed this mentally challenged woman out of her house.
Why does that happen so much in Toronto? Do you remember the old story of the woman who was panhandling and pretending she'd have seizures and she'd go back to her penthouse?
Oh yeah,
that was a classic.
That was like one of the best hustles ever, though. That was other people that were homeless kind of look up to that. That's their Gary Vee.
Is that what I mean? Yeah. Oh,
well, that's New York, and New York homeless are, they mean business, right? They all have that, because how Gary Vee, it's every time you take a shit, that's 5 minutes of productivity that you just flush down the drain, right? Whereas the homeless people, when you see them taking shits on the street, that's because they just, you know what I mean? They can't take the time off of panhandling. So that's when you see that, you're like, oh, look at this guy. He's, he's given up on life. He's shitting on the streets. But in reality, he's just not taking time off. Well, whereas, you plebeians, and that's how he gets ahead. That guy probably has 5 homeless guys working for him. That's what people don't realize. But in New York homeless, he goes back to his penthouse on top of the Empire State Building.
That's real productivity there.
That's exactly what it is. Yeah. Y'all sleeping, he's working.
I've always wanted to reconnect with, what's his name? Cashman Russell Oliver. I want to bring him back into the limelight. If you're talking about Toronto jewelry guys.
He was the best of the jewelry guys. I actually did a show back in the day called Crown the Town with Ryan Long, where we interviewed all the jewelry buyer guys, right? Yeah. And Oliver was the coolest one, probably. He was the biggest personality. The other one, I mean, it's a scummy business, right? So you have to, the whole business model is essentially, bring in your family heirlooms and we'll give you 15 cents for them, right? That's essentially what they do.
Why don't you make a music video with him? That would be off the charts.
I could come back to Toronto. Yeah, that could be my return. Me and Oliver start a podcast together, essentially, a hip hop podcast.
I don't know if a podcast is the right way to go. I don't know how much legs the Russell Oliver podcast will have. You'll have to be carrying that, I think, unless he's just financially backing it.
You're thinking of more of a white boy rap thing where we rap really fast.
I'm thinking of just straight up make a new commercial for him that can also go on your page.
As an option. So there's definitely a lot of options, and that's the thing. You can always be doing more. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Every day you wake up and you go, you know what? I think I did a lot today. But did you start a rap career with Russell Oliver? You did not. So you didn't do everything, did you?
I guess you don't put off today or till tomorrow what can be done today. How is New York treating you?
It's good. But yes, I am going on tour. Look, I have him there. So I'm coming to Vancouver and Edmonton. So yeah, look at the fellas tour. Well, those people. Yeah, in Toronto and Canada, I'm coming to Vancouver and Edmonton. And I'm probably going to add more dates. I'm probably going to do a Toronto, and I'm probably going to do Montreal, Calgary.
Go ahead and add an Oshawa show to that one for me. That's a little bit closer. Oshawa Yuck shout out.
Yeah, but the thing is, Oshawa, I think that it's close enough to Toronto that I don't know if I'll do.
This Oshawa is just for my convenience only.
Do you live in Oshawa right now?
No, I live close to it though.
I'm
from Oshawa. Whoa, bro, my hometown. Aren't you from
What?
Ajax?
Is this news to you? Or is this like what? People think Oshawa's this
What?
is yeah. This is the first you're hearing of this, that Oshawa's a dump?
This is new to me. I thought that when you go to the South End and see the dilapidated houses and the people, doing various drugs that I won't name.
Well, my mom lived there for the last 10 years.
What's her exact intersection?
Well, she's sort of, she's just different street corners, right? But
I didn't mean like
different street corners and then hourly motels, essentially.
That sounds like the South End of Simcoe to me.
It depends on what client she's working with and stuff like that.
Oh, Ajax, how we are enemies, I guess, mortal enemies. The other thing I wanted to ask you about regarding New York, though, is I know that most of your skits are done there. The Tucker Carlson one, though, that you just dropped a couple days ago, it's almost like, do you ever say this is going to be almost too easy? Do you have to parse through the material that you get to just take the 99% best of them? Like, I feel like you went out there and just being like, this is going to be too easy.
Well, yeah. So the video I did was I asked New Yorkers if they wanted to donate to Tucker Carlson.
And what was the documentary called you were telling them?
Oh, I just kept making up new ones.
Killary and the something.
I said, yeah, Killary and liberal lies. And then I had told them, they said there's one called Teachers Are Pedophiles. And I said, no, we can just take your picture and we'll put it in the credits so everyone knows you're part of the project. And everyone's like, no, I don't want to. Well, I was doing a bunch of those. I did one. I did kind of the same thing before, where I was promoting the disinformation governance board. And I was like, and then I did one like promoting CNN Plus. And then, so I was kind of doing a bunch of those where I was getting people to try to like sign up for something that they didn't want to.
You run into a naked guitar player, man, a couple times.
That guy's everywhere. Yeah.
He's been there for 30 years.
Yeah. So there's this guy that lives in New York and he's at Times Square. And there's two regulars in Times Square. Well, there's a few. But one of them is this lady that basically she's naked and she plays guitar, and then there's a guy that's naked and plays guitar, but the lady's like 60 years old and like big saggy fucking tits. And then the naked cowboy dude, every time you're filming a video, he always gets involved, right? So yeah, the naked cowboy guy's always there. It's kind of Toronto has a few of those guys, right? They have like the silver Elvises and stuff like that. But yeah, Times Square has a few staples. There's a Batman guy that I'm like friends with now.
I think was he in a video? I feel like I remember that
guy.
Video.
Me and him were talking about which kind of titties he likes.
You're right.
Yeah.
I love when the videos devolve into just like, I'm sure you went out there for a different purpose and it's just one guy just who's willing to answer any question you throw at him for 25 minutes.
That's kind of essentially what happens. Yeah. There was a guy that I did. So I did this video for CNN Plus, and then they tried to kick me out of the market. And then this guy, Yeah. So this guy started yelling at everyone, being like, you can't kick him out of the market. And I was sort of like, yeah, this guy has my back. Right. And it ended up being a whole big thing. And the video kind of went viral. And then so people kept tagging me in this. Everyone was telling me I need to get that guy on like the podcast and stuff like that. But I don't know. I didn't get his information or anything. Right. And I was kind of like, maybe I could track this guy down. And then I found yesterday, people were tagging me in this video where some other guy that filmed was filming him. Yeah. And then in the video, he was arguing with this other guy. And then he goes, just so you know, I was on this comedian's page talking about free speech, and it just did 400,000 views like just yesterday. And he was like bragging about his like fame from my video. So he's like feeling himself right now because everyone loved him in the video. All the comments were like, this guy's the man. So he's kind of walking around telling other people like, I don't know if you know this, but I'm like a viral star currently. And he's bragging. So I'm going to post that clip of him saying that and see if anyone could track him down.
I'm sure now he's just the free speech activist for whatever this, farmers market is. Maybe he's hanging around there more.
Well, people liked him because he was this like super liberal guy or whatever, but like a liberal guy that's into free speech, kind of like the old school ones. So that's why everyone liked him, because they were like, yeah, a lot of people were like, yeah, this is how I see myself, as like, fairly liberal, but like, I don't think that has to include that I'm like trying to shut down speech or whatever.
Yeah. Everybody sees themselves as a guy roaming the park, defending free speech.
That's what everyone said. They're like, "Yo, this guy's the man." That a lot of the comments, the gist of it was like, "This is how it used to be." Like this guy was the good old days for them. You know what I mean?
For sure.
Because that gets like a dying breed a little bit. I mean, there's obviously some out there, but
more than a little
like
bit.
Yeah, that's like a dying breed, like the liberal who likes free speech. I think
they
sort of say that they kick you out. Sort of, I think that if you're like, oh, if you like free speech, they're like, well, then you're the club.
The last time we spoke, we talked about how you were sort of felt that you were ahead of the curve on like not believing any of the politicians on either side. Do you feel? I think it's been like 6 months or something since we last had you on. Do you think that has become more obvious to people now?
No, I don't think it's become more obvious to people. But yeah, politicians are professional room readers, right? So I don't think, they basically are really good right now, especially as partisan things are right now. Politicians are very good at, feeling out the same way I might do that in like a comedy club. They're really good at feeling out what they think their base wants to hear and then, kind of regurgitating their own opinions back to them, right? The popular opinions. And that just gets worse and worse. But no, I think that people are even more, it's almost like, I would say when as far as like left and right stuff, to me, it was kind of like left were getting pretty, wild in terms of like everyone's kicked out of their group. Now I see that kind of happening again on the right or whatever. And it's almost like, it's not like one got better. I'd say that they're both bad, both more bad now. Like I would say the two least favorite people on Twitter are if you get like, and the people that never get your jokes is if you get like quote tweeted by someone that their thing is like mega 421 mega patriot, let's go Brandon, mom, God, that woman, or like non-binary, she, her, Ukraine. If you see those two people tweeting, you can almost guarantee that's not going to be a fun person.
Well, I do this thing where I like to just bait those sort of people. So when Elon Musk was taking over Twitter, I went ahead and said, if Elon Musk buys Twitter, then I'm moving to Canada, specifically Oshawa, Ontario. And all the replies were from the accounts you described. We don't want your kind in Canada. We don't need any more left-wing wusses in Canada. Too many wokesters here already. And it has, and I think you're right. It's become even easier.
Fired up.
Yeah, and that's just like, you didn't even click on my profile.
Republicans are fired up right now. They're sick of this shit.
Did you see what happened? What Beto O'Rourke did in Texas?
I did, yeah.
Yeah, he just walks up.
He kick-flipped onto the stage with his slingshot.
We're laughing at it, but what he did was he walks into a room where the sheriff and the senator and the mayor of the town where the kids got killed are talking about what they want to do, and there's parents on stage too, and he's just like, you haven't done enough. This is your fault. And it's like, you talk about reading the room. I'm not sure what he was reading there, though. And he had all his cameras with him.
He was looking for a viral moment.
Yes, of course.
Yeah, yeah. They're like, I don't know. What's your opinion on, because obviously Canada's so much different than America. Like this stuff, like school shootings don't happen there. What do you think?
I think that on most of these cases, it turns out that the kid has been spoken to about it before, is on some sort of brain altering drug, and usually they ignore, for lack of a better term, the red flags about this kid. And I don't understand why they don't put, like, for the last like 30 years, I feel like in like the hood, if you want to call it that, or like violent neighborhoods where gangs will actually come to school to act out gang killings, they've had metal detectors, they've had clear backpacks, they've had security guards.
I had metal detectors in my school.
There you go. So I don't understand.
And police. We had police in my school.
I don't understand why there can't be, like, some people say like one entrance. That's kind of a fire hazard in my opinion. But why can't you just have they don't have to scan everybody that comes in, because the difference.
I don't know. They can't really skim off the Ukraine budget though.
I've been hearing some people say stuff like that. Like, why can't you just have security just at the entrances and exits? Like, I don't even think you need to go as far as metal detectors. You can tell when somebody's trying to sneak a lot of guns in, I think. Maybe I'm wrong, but you wouldn't have to scan every person unless there's a what's the word I'm looking for? A pattern of people sneaking weapons into school. Otherwise, in these last few situations, it's just been literally somebody walking up to the school with guns And
there's also a deterrent element,
Mhm.
just the idea that people know that there is security there. But I think that that's like not going to be a popular. I don't think that, like, from partisan wise, that'll be popular, because it sort of like concedes that people aren't going to get the gun control they want if they agree to that. So I think that that's why that's going to be hard to actually pass.
Well, when we look at gun control, I think like some of the most recent evidences of why it's not good to take everyone's guns away is like Australia, for example, to a lesser extent Canada, but in Australia, they decided to lock people up in camps for a while if they thought they were sick, and then which resulted in some people trying to get smuggled out in trunks of cars and highway patrol catching them and everything. So I think that and I think it was my friend Gary Sheffield who said this, that the reason why they wouldn't even try that in America is because people have guns. I don't know if that's
I've
true.
heard that. Yeah, I've heard that. I mean, I've been thinking about that a lot over the last 2 days, and I think that it's like a narrative people like to believe if you're into guns. I mean, it's like, I think it's hard to parse out like a culture that's, like freedom's kind of embedded in their thing and the guns. So there might be, right now that may not be true, but that may be because of the fact that there is like a Second Amendment here. So it's hard to like remove those two things and look at them independently, even if it's not at the moment directly connected.
That's a very difficult subject.
It's possible if there was like far stricter gun control, like, red states in America would still have had the same reaction. Like, obviously that's a possibility. So I don't know. It is a tough one. And it's like one thing that I was kind of saying that I like, it's kind of interesting whenever you see people, whenever someone, right now I'm seeing a lot of people kind of saying like, oh, this is crazy that people are using this for political purposes. You know what I mean? People will be like, oh, I can't believe that, that's so wrong of you to use this shooting for, to try to push your political ends. And I'm just like, yeah, everyone does that. I'm like, to me, it's like naive to even like that, to point that out. You're like, you go, are you blind? Like, that's what everyone does always on both sides. The same, the same way that someone on the fucking left wing right now is like, oh, look at, there's this school shooting. This is why we need more gun control. Okay, imagine if there was like 15 trans kids that, transitioned at 14 years old and they all died. Would the right not being like, this is why we need this to stop in politics?
Yeah.
And of course, obviously, it's like a truism that that's going to happen. So I don't know. It's like, it just seems crazy to me to kind of point out, oh, can you believe these guys? And you're like, yeah, you also do that. And so does everybody. That's kind of the game.
Well, yeah, that's why it's surprising that Beto O'Rourke wasn't actually kick flipping his skateboard. Zoom in on a picture of that guy and you'll see the sadness in his eyes, is what I say. This is a far stretch from what I texted you about. You said monkey.
Two Canadians talking about guns, huh?
We should. No, that's fine. I'm just saying, I asked you what you want to talk about and you said monkeypox.
No, I was kind of kidding.
I'm not. If you want to talk about monkeypox, Ryan Long, and this helps you sleep at night, I will be your therapist about monkeypox.
Well, apparently there's some debate, but a lot of people are sort of saying it came in from gay bathhouses. So I don't know if you've gotten checked, but
I mean, this is what I deserve. I'm starting to learn now, Ryan, when we do our live streams during the day, we get like the super chats and stuff. I'm starting to learn that the people that associate with me or watch me or whatever, they just give it to me, and I think that's what I deserve.
I think the guys in the bathhouse were giving it to you.
I did read a BBC article that said it is.
Yeah, you did. BBC Magazine.
This is all right. I'm just gonna let you go. I was listening to a podcast yesterday that said, "Don't interrupt the comedian when he's free flowing." Before
I wasn't free flowing. You're just like You're like, I'm not gay. I was just, these guys were giving it to me, and BBCs. I don't know. You're going on and on about BBCs. I didn't want to.
And I was listening to the Village People recently as well, and no, but the British Broadcasting Corporation article was talking about how it is something that's prevalent in the gay community, and that it's one of these things that you can only get through the same way.
I don't think get, but I think that was kind of where it started allegedly, but it is what it is.
Also, some people don't even get symptoms if they've gotten it, which is interesting. But Belgium has put in lockdowns already, which is an interesting reaction to that. I don't know.
Right. It was just making me laugh, the idea that, you know, them kind of saying that, oh, everyone's getting monkeypox from the gay bathhouse, and then some guy with monkeypox explaining to his wife, like, okay, I can explain. Like, and the idea that, like, because the WHO was like, you know, we need to do more research and stuff like that, and that's like they're sending, you know, Fauci out to the bathhouses to do some in the field research. He's coming back. He's like, all right, so I don't have monkeypox, and believe me, I tried.
I wouldn't be surprised if monkeys. Fauci's new wardrobe was a robe, like Hefner style. He should have just started pulling that out towards the end of the last bit, coming out with a pipe and a robe, and just really not caring at all.
Yeah, just laying pipe with his robe on. No, but yeah, so of course, you know, I'm sure that monkeypox is going to be like good for the we got another pandemic. They're like probably revved up because people are kind of over COVID. But I don't know. That's what I was saying, was like, it just feels like naive to like think that everything isn't going to get used for some political purposes. Like, I always think it's funny when the parents do it. There was this, you know, there's a lot of articles like this, but there was a pretty famous one that like went pretty viral. It was like this mom that she's making her son wear a dress to school to kind of fight gender norms, right? And then basically the son comes home and he's like, oh, I was getting bullied and all this stuff. And she's like writing these articles being like, can you believe that these kids are bullying him? And it's like, yeah, also you made your son wear a dress to school. So yeah, probably you're the issue. It's kind of there's like a lot of things like that where I was kind of making fun of there's this show In the Dark. It's about like a blind detective, you know what I mean? And there's like kind of a vibe of some of the press materials, like what's the problem? Like a blind person can't be you know what I mean, a detective. Or Love Island kind of puts like every season they'll put like a few, you know, like overweight people in it now, just the girls, right? Like the guys are all still like chiseled, but the girls, they'll put a few like not hot girls in it. And then they'll kind of get bullied on the internet of people being like, oh, these girls aren't hot. And then the vibe is like, oh, look at all these bullies. And it was like, yeah, but you put like a not hot person in a hot person show. It's kind of like putting it's like putting like a 10-year-old in the NBA. Like everyone bets on everyone bets on like their team, and then they replace the star center with like a 10-year-old who flubs, and everyone loses their money, and everyone's like, yo, screw this kid. And they're like, can you believe these people yelling at a kid? And you're like, no, you're the one who did this. You have a hot people show, and then some of the people on that show have like committed suicide.
Oh my God.
And, yeah, but it's like they're sort of put them in this position. It's like a show where the people, like, who's this helping on a show where the whole thing is the guys pick which one they think is the hottest, and then they put a girl that's not hot in the show. She doesn't get picked. The internet bullies her, and the show's attitude is like, can you believe these animals on the internet? And it was like, you kind of put people in these positions to fail.
Well, it happens a lot with the woke stuff. You look at the Sports Illustrated swimsuit thing, and it's like you are setting this person up to be bullied because you know lied
that's
to them.
What's going to happen. And yeah, you're looking to get clicks. Like, and by the way, that girl was not, you know, that, like, it's not like she was like morbid or whatever. Like, she was fine. Like, it's not like if your friend was with that chick, you wouldn't be like, oh, you'd be like, oh, whatever. It's just like a woman, you know what I mean? But it is true. It's on this thing. They know, they're like, hey, we'll put this, you know, woman that's, you know, overweight or whatever on the cover, and then everyone will get mad about it. But I guess that's the game for these people. But obviously that's going to happen. So everyone does exactly what you think they would do. And then they kind of, their business model is almost like sacrificing a person, but I guess she gets more famous or whatever, right?
Mm-hmm. Something that's going on right now, the World Economic Forum, I imagine you're knee deep into this, I'd have to imagine. And now I don't know if
Klaus Schwab, he should be on the cover of Playgirl. I think that's a sex symbol.
Apparently their motto.
That's where he started monkeypox, probably.
Their motto this year is to regain trust. So I've been seeing I don't know which country he's from, but there's some YouTuber who's like, come on down to the World Economic Forum. Thousands of smart people come here every year to make the world a better place. There's presidents, there's prime ministers, there's doctors, there's all these people who want to make life better for you. Meanwhile, it's like, eat the bugs, don't own anything. And it's like we've reached this level of dystopian world where we now have social media influencers who think it's cool. Like, let's promote these billionaires and see how amazing they are. But at the same time, I'm against the billionaires and I'm against the government. And this apex or this nexus, maybe.
Yeah, they got people. They got those people wrapped up, right? That is like one of the greatest sort of political or whatever cultural movements ever, is sort of convincing, activism to like support essentially like mainstream power or whatever. It's almost like brilliant. To me, the funny part about the World Economic Forum is whenever you see these clips where they're having these like panel discussions, and the things that everyone will say was a conspiracy theories, they will kind of like openly be saying, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And they're talking very, oh yes, and what, there could be a future where everyone lives in a cage and we have their TV in the cage and it's actually pretty good. And the person's like, no, what size would this cage be? I'm like, 8x10 could be. And everyone's like, wait, why are they saying this? Like, shouldn't they be pretending that they don't think this? It like blows my mind, the stuff that they say publicly. And then, so some of this stuff, people will be like, oh, this conspiracy. And you're like, they're kind of saying it for real. Like, I don't know if it's a conspiracy when they're like saying it.
There was this one minister from India who was openly saying how he has known Klaus Schwab for so long, and Klaus Schwab, who's the guy who tells all the capitalists of the world what to do. And then our reporter's just like, wait, what did you say? You said that he rules the capitalists of the world? And he's like, yeah, but I've known him for longer than anybody. I've known him since before it was called the World Economic Forum. So his point was that he's known Klaus Schwab for so long ruling the world that it was before it was called the World Economic Forum. And that's what he was bragging about, not the part where he says that he rules the capitalists of the world and tells them what to do. This is how disconnected these people are. He
was into him before he was cool.
Yeah. Exactly.
I mean, there's the obviously the, big money on kind of the resistance to that as well. So there is kind of like a split, there's the George Soros of the world, and then there's the Koch brothers of the world. So there is big money kind of going in flowing in different directions. It's not like completely obvious that they're going to get what they want, but like I'm not necessarily a pessimist when it comes to the future.
Not necessarily.
No, I don't think so. I mean, well, I don't have a crystal ball. I'm not Merlin, but I do think that
that's a reference.
Yeah, Merlin.
I've
been talking a lot about that.
That all people who watch like global TV in the early 2000s know.
I think Merlin's just like the standard name for any magician.
The Merlin and the ball. He's always holding a crystal ball and shining it.
No, I've been talking a lot about how girls just love whimsical stuff. Like girls are into witchcraft and all that stuff. But the biggest difference is when you say, like, if you think about any guy that went home with a girl, this is how much little we care. If any guy was with a girl and she was like, oh, I'm a witch, I'm into witchcraft, we'd all be like, crazy, we can still have sex. You know what I mean? But if any girl went home with a guy and he was like, listen, I'm a warlock, she would have to be okay.
I'm really into the Knights of the Round Table and Chris Angel, and
you're out of there, right?
I think you, as just a redo of Chris Angel's, you wouldn't have to change anything. If you just do every stunt that Chris Angel did in the exact same way, it would be hilarious.
I mean, in his show, you can do his stunts because they're all camera tricks.
Exactly.
Like, his show was just absolutely insane. Like, obviously, there's a lot of magicians, and there is a super high level talent component to it, especially with the hand movements and card tricks and a lot. But Chris Angel's tricks on his show were just like, okay, I'm here, and it's like, now look, I'm on the roof.
He's just literally using just wires. The one where he levitates is just literally him pushing himself up on see-through like stands that he's standing on, and they're transparent. So he just pushes himself up on them, and they're like, oh my god, he's floating.
Yeah. Some of the tricks are insane. There was one where it's he walks across water, and then it's like, there was glass in the water. It's like, ooh.
It's literally just like, let's make a show that's supposed to be magic, and it's just special effects, and we just won't overtly say what it's supposed to be. And then
Street magic was better, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I actually did. I directed. There's this magician, Rob Testa, and he got some money to, do some videos and stuff like that back when I was in Canada. And I directed his magic special, right? It's kind of like a mini series, right? And so I kind of was in the, that world, kind of like submersed in that world for a couple weeks. And I kind of found out how all the tricks worked. And there was a lot of gadgets, right? There's a lot of like, string you can't see and this and that, right? But the funny part was filming that show, the like stereotype that like black people they laugh more and stuff like that. It really was legitimately an issue. We were filming it on the Danforth beaches, right? And so you would go and you'd get like 10 good reactions from black people, and you'd literally have to be like, all right, well, you'd have to try to get, because you don't just want to you don't want to just have like one type of person that is that you're doing the tricks to, right? And it really was hard to get like white people to get a good reaction, because they're all just like, nah. Oh, cool. Yeah, whereas black people are enjoying themselves. They're like, yo. So that's like a trope that actually, I was witnessing in real time, where we're like, all right, well, we got 10 great reactions, but it's like, it's all from like a black dude. Okay, now we need to find like an Asian dude or, some girls, whatever, right? We can't just have the same thing on, but I don't know. That always makes me laugh. How like, it's like so true, that stereotype is.
The Family Guy clip.
But I watched it in real time. It's better.
Over and over again.
Yeah, that's better to be able to be excited about things than to, you know what I mean? Be like,
I feel like magic has suffered due to like everything. The internet just gives you so much more knowledge to be able to do it. I remember when Penn and Teller first came out with their show Fool Us, it was like a huge deal that somebody could fool them. And now the last time I checked it out a couple months ago, it's like 3 people per episode can fool them, because people have just been doing it their whole lives, and it's no longer kid goes into magic shop in like 1970s Brooklyn and gets intrigued. It's kid studies magic day in and day out for 30 years and gets insanely good at it and is better than the people who are famous for it.
That's everything right now. Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's, doing those hand movements over and over and over and over again. But I mean, the same way that, if someone from the NBA right now played, 20 years ago, they would just like demo to like a level that's unfathomable, right? And that's comedy and that's everything. The level of work that, people are putting into their, YouTube and podcast businesses is just so much higher. So I always kind of talk about how it's a really bad era for like the tortured artist, the I'm depressed tortured artist. Like, I don't know if I could work today. I'm kind of just getting drunk. And it was like, all right, just, like you'll just disappear and no one will ever hear from you again. Because it's like, the same way that in professional sports, the guy that smokes isn't, you don't see that guy too often, right? The kind of, person who's running like a, internet business that's like a mess and they're all over the place and, depressed. And it's like, yeah, at this level that people are operating right now, it's like, you're just going to get murked.
Is that just as true in comedy though? Because I don't see too many like 20, like, doesn't it still take at least like 6 or 7 years before you have like 20 minutes or something, let's say, and people are going to pay to come see you? Or are there people coming up now that are like 22 that are just really good?
I didn't say that they're really good when they're 3 years in, but the level that people are working is a lot. Yeah, so you will see, I mean, there's good parts and bad parts, because you do see a lot of comics right now. It's all about, putting TikTok clips up and stuff like that. And kind of what you said, that they're not good enough yet, right? So it's like they're just putting garbage up. And there's lots of people that are focusing on putting TikTok clips up and, their social media presence, when really you're like, it's the equivalent of having like a really great storefront and, a great POS system and a great, employee base, but your product's terrible, right? So there is that, but there is also, people that are building their social media base. Then by the time they get good at stand-up, they have a fan base to go do it to.
How is your podcast doing, the Boys Cast? I looked at the numbers recently. It's doing really well, I think. Is it something that you're doing?
Yeah, maybe like 100,000 an episode right now.
Yeah, or is it something you're just doing when you have time? Do you want this to be are you just going to go back and because now you're running three things. You're running stand up, your videos, and your podcast. Are we going to go full bore with all three of them? Is that something you would recommend people do when they're in like this sort of entertainment space?
I mean, yeah, that's like advice that's 4 years too late almost. If you're like, hey, maybe I should start a podcast. I mean, it's like, yeah. I mean, yeah, if you're a comedian, the like kind of base level is, you know, putting stand-up clips up and having a podcast, right? That's kind of that's like the standard model right now. It's like as soon as you, oh, I would like that comedian. What's his podcast? That's kind of where people go to watch you, you know, for an hour and a half every week if they like you, right? So it's kind of like your business card in some sense, the same way that your stand-up is. But I think that, yeah, I have those things, and then there's the business elements. And you know, I have my like merch company that I'm wearing right now, so I'm sort of an apparel designer as well. So that's another thing that I have, and I have a few other ideas in touring. So it's I consider writing stand up in the city one thing, and then, you know, touring another thing. So yeah, there's kind of like 5 or 6 components of like what I'm doing that I'm trying to always make them work to some degree in harmony. But the podcast I do put a lot of time into the podcast, so I would say that it probably occupies 10 to 12 hours a week.
All right, let's move behind the paywall for the subscribers. Give them some bonus content. You can go to rebelnewsplus.com. Speaking of podcasts, $8 a month or $80 for the whole year. You'll get the extra segments with Ryan Long.
Okay, one last question
before we go to the paywall.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, so do you know how if you're like have monkeypox, you have like an accent? You know, there's like the gay accent.
Yes, Ryan, I do.
Right, you know what I'm talking about, right? Okay, people have an accent.
What?
Is this news to you?
What?
Is this news to you that gay guys sort of talk a certain way?
Oh no. Okay. Well, how is that related to monkeypox?
Okay, well, just because. Okay, so do you think that gay people that speak different languages, like for example Chinese, have a gay accent? Like, or is that just an English thing?
I would say it's just an English thing. And if we look at something specifically like Chinese, there's too much honor and integrity to denigrate your pronunciation of things or to change them whatsoever for anybody of any sexuality. You want to be, even if...
So you can't tell the difference. So you think in those countries, like if you see a Chinese guy, you can't, like when you see a gay guy here, you can kind of tell, right? Like you can't tell.
I like how you make sure this is before the paywall. Is this revenge for the technical difficulties?
Well, you can't tell if a guy, okay, you can't tell by a guy's accent if he likes big boobs or small boobs, right? But you can tell if he likes boobs at all. That's like a fact. You can generally tell, not always, but if someone has that accent, it's pretty good high percentage that they're gay. So in China or other countries where they don't speak English, can you not tell where you go, hey, this guy speaks? And because
I don't know.
It's a good question, right?
It's a great question.
It's a video. Is there like a pie chart where this is okay? Well, anyways, that's a question. Comment below, I think.
It's a great question to close on. I'll just let you know that it won't be my decision if that gets cut. So just so we're all aware.
You're just letting your audience know that that's the kind of show you're running where you're cutting stuff. Interesting.
I would never cut anything, Ryan Long. I'm a good boy.
Wow. Luckily, I'm the one doing the recording. So,
damn it.
Because they were having technical difficulties. So I'm doing the recording, which means that I will
he'll release the unedited version.
Yeah, if you want to see uncensored, you hear to hear first, the Rebel Media is censored.
You'll have to follow him on tour.
If you like free speech and you're against censorship, RyanLongComedy.com.
Exactly.
There's also tour dates there.
There's also tour dates there. And uncensored. We will go behind the paywall. See you next week. Thanks for watching another episode of Andrew Says. To get the full version of the show with bonus segments, go to rebelnewsplus.com and sign up now.